Hi everybody, my name is Natalia Munoz. I am the news director for Holyoke Media, and we're trying something a little bit different, though we did try it during the COVID times, and that is to give you a summary of what's been going on in the city. Let's start off with municipal meetings. There was a special city council meeting for the councilors to consider whether to raise the rate on our sewer rates. So it would essentially go to $8.02 per 1,000 gallons. That's an increase of, let's just say maybe about $1. And as we get billed every 3 months, 4 times a year, it would come out to be about $7 more for the average user of water. There was a lot of discussion about that by the councilors. And in the end, they voted 8-5 to not raise the sewer rate. However, Mary Moynihan and Libby Hernandez, the chair and vice chair, respectively, of the Board of Public Health, said one way or another, residents of Holyoke, property owners who pay their property taxes, are going to be paying for this, because this needs to be addressed. The sewage overflow into the Connecticut that happens very frequently when it rains, and then you can't go into the Connecticut, you can't go, kayak, much less swimming. And the disturbance and the contamination that it causes, not just to the people of Holyoke, but downstream from Holyoke, that needs to be addressed, and that's going to be addressed. This sewer rate increase was to address that, was to pay for those improvements, and they will get done. And in a moment, I'm going to share with you an interview I had with both Mary Moynihan and Libby Hernandez about this very issue. Okay. What does this vote mean then for the projects that it was going to fund?
So what's interesting about this is it means nothing, because the enterprise fund is based on contractual expenses. And despite what Councilor Jourdain said, there is a budget. So this budget includes the contract for the long-term service agreement. It includes the long-term debt associated with the CSOs. It also includes right now $100,000 to take care of emergency breaks. So the breaks are going to happen. That money only gets spent if the breaks occur. So, our average breaks are $235,000 a year. So the 802 would have funded a budget that would have increased the breaks, the account, to $235,000, because the Division of Local Services said that the council has been intentionally underfunding the breaks. And the taxpayer then has to pick that up as a deficit.
What are the breaks? I don't understand.
Sewer breaks.
The sewer breaks.
Sewer breaks.
The sewer breaks.
Yes, yeah. Breaks in the pipes.
Yeah, that this was going to fund the reparation of those.
No, it changed nothing about the repairs. The repairs are emergency. They happen whether there's funding or not.
Then how does it get paid for?
It creates a deficit, and then the taxpayer has to pay for that deficit at the end of the year in order to balance the budget.
And how is that? What's the mechanism for that, for the taxpayer to pay for that bill?
This is where the City Council will be looking at a deficit, as they have in the past, and the Division of Local Services, before they certify a tax rate, will require the City Council to find funding. Usually it's some available fund, free cash, or the stabilization account, to pay for whatever deficit occurred at the end of that fiscal year.
So then, Mrs. Hernandez, then it's going to happen anyway.
This is going to happen anyway.
So
it's
why was it such a...
grandstanding.
Okay. All right, so yeah, then why was this whole thing about we didn't get the legal document on time?
They were trying to block the vote.
Mm-hmm.
I can't speak for why. Someone would not want to do what they were elected to do. But right now, without a sewer rate increase, the numbers say we're going into another deficit year. Division of Local Services has said we will not certify the city's tax rate if the enterprise fund comes in with a deficit budget, and that's what happened tonight.
Mrs. Hernandez, you were a city councilor.
Yeah.
What would this vote, like if you were sitting in there, how do you think you would have voted?
Oh, I would have voted for the increase because this is a disservice to the people of Holyoke. Because at the end of it all, there is going to be an increase somewhere, and what happened in there was just like what Mary said, grandstanding. You know, like a moment of I'm protecting the people from a small increase that would have translated to like $30.
It's a $30 annual increase.
So,
To our
divided by 12, who's really good at math?
So we came up with this, like, per billing, it's about what it was.
it's a quarterly billing, right?
It's a quarterly
It's a
billing.
quarterly billing.
So about $7 and some change
Okay.
per
Right.
billing cycle.
billing
And like you
Yes.
say, one way or another, we're going to pay for this.
Sure.
We're going to pay for it.
And
All
we
of
just
these-
put Holyoke's reputation on the line to get certified.
Right. And what's sad about this, it's bigger than just a certification, is, you know, as the Department of Public Works, we're moving forward with things. We're a
Right.
professional department, professional operation. We have a new first ever DPW director for the city of Holyoke. We're now looking for a new city engineer. I say we hire great people because other communities poached them.
Right.
So this kind of public image for the city of Holyoke coming in with respect to the operations in the Department of Public Works, not by the Department of Public Works, but it affects how we're able to manage what DPW is responsible for. It doesn't help us attract the quality of the candidates and the respect that DPW deserves.
Right. So it's a disservice to our city, and it's an embarrassment really, because this Board of Public Works, we put a lot of work, genuine investment, and we care about the employees there and about all of our residents. I mean, this is the most important department of the city of Holyoke, Department of Public Works. It keeps our city healthy, and without them, you can imagine, no garbage removal, the infrastructure, our pipes, our residents would be condemned. And this is the type of action that we have to deal with this legislative body. Not good.
Also at the special city council meeting this week, councilors discussed the merits of approving a $600,000, additional $600,000 to pay for a consulting firm to review what's going on in the Treasurer's office and to bring the systems up to date. Some time ago, I interviewed the Treasurer, Rory Casey, about why does the IRS level fines against the city just about every time it can. And he said, well, there's some systems that need to be upgraded, and they're working on that. And he also talks to the IRS to see if he can bring down the amount of money that the city has to pay to the IRS. Why is Holyoke having to pay the IRS these large sums of money? Every once in a while, most recently was $30,000. I know you went before the council and you addressed this issue, but for those who didn't sit through the entire city council meeting, could you please tell us again, why is Holyoke paying why is Holyoke paying penalty fees?
Sure, absolutely. So the penalties that we're paying are actually pretty common. That isn't to say we should accept that we need to pay them, but we do. And it's really no different than when somebody files their own individual taxes. We're talking about withholding taxes. We're talking about taxes related to payroll. That's what we're talking about here. And so it's no different than when somebody files their annual tax, their individual tax return. The money that gets taken out of your check each week is an estimate of what you owe the IRS. And come April 15th, if you haven't paid what you owe and you don't send that money in, you may be penalized. even if you do file on the 15th and it turns out more money was owed based on what you earned, the IRS will also penalize you for that.
Notwithstanding, the city decided, the mayor, Joshua Garcia, decided we need somebody, a consultant, to come in, look at our treasurer's office, look to see the systems that we have for collecting money and then sending it to the IRS. That would be the taxes that are taken out of employees' checks, and do it in a timely way every single time. Property taxes being paid on time as well, all of that. The price tag is $900,000. $300,000 has already been paid. The city council was talking about, are we going to agree to allocate another $600,000 to this firm, this consulting firm, to go into the 5-person treasurer's office and continue to create new robust systems for accounting. After a lot of healthy debate among councilors, that was voted down 8-5. The main reason is that if Holyoke has $600,000 more to spend on an outside firm, well then it can have $600,000 to pay for people who are already working for the city of Holyoke. Also this week there was a cable license renewal hearing, and as we know, Comcast is the only cable company we have here in Holyoke for our internet and for cable television. So the city is now in negotiations with Comcast through November. They will accept public comments from the public, from you. You can send your comments to the mayor's office about Comcast, because these are the kind of, your feedback weighs in on the negotiation between the city of Holyoke and Comcast for there to be a renewal of the license. So if you want to send your comments about Comcast, go straight to the mayor's office, write to the mayor or call the mayor's office and register your thoughts. Also this week, Erica Slocum, a historian who works closely with Wisteria Hearst Museum, presented her part 2 of Black Holyoke. And in this second part, she focuses on different families who have lived here and who may now live in Springfield or still live here. And it's for people to know that there is a time today and there was a time before when there were a lot of Black families here. So that exhibit of pictures and documents continues at the Wisteria Hearst Museum, which, as you know, is owned by the city, and it's a jewel of the city, because how many cities own a museum?
So I think that my biggest concern was really about Springfield, right? And I say that all the time. I'm from Springfield. I grew up there. My family is from there. And so there was like a large history that I felt like from my family wasn't being told. And back in 2017, I had the opportunity to meet the archivist here, Penny, and the then director of the museum, Kate Preisler. And, you know, they were like, there's a story here that hasn't been told that we're really interested in, right? And, you know, my understanding of the history of like Holyoke has been very Puerto Rican based, very Irish, very Polish, you know, French Huguenot, you know, that kind of idea of like Black folks didn't live here, and the folks that did live here in my mind were transplants, right? Because I knew folks who moved to Holyoke. And the more that we kind of dug in the archives and went to different places, so the UMass archives, and to the archives here at the public library, and even the ones here at Wisteria Hearst, I realized that the history of Black folks in Holyoke wasn't just, it's not a 20th century story, right? It's not even a 19th century story. This goes back to the 18th century, right? Before Holyoke was even established as a city or a town.
This has been a brief summary of what's been going on in municipal government here in Holyoke. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to be doing this every Friday, and we're also going to highlight producers, the people who make the podcasts, who make videos, the open mic that's held in the studio at Holyoke Media, where poets sign up to read their poetry. Individual videos that I have made, or my colleague Johan Rashi Vega has made, or other people have made. But this is the section where we talk about what's going on in government in Holyoke. So again, thank you for tuning in, and I hope you all have a super duper, and I know that's so dorky to say, weekend.